Look at UVTV, motherfucker. I'm here to kick spiritual ass and do this for my people. On God, twin. Neon, nigga. For Feather May, yeah. And today, I'm going to be talking about how all science started off as pseudoscience and this projection energy of the scientific method, and it makes people into spiritual crackheads and stuff like that. So, me breaking down the scientific method from an overall perspective and that whole origin starting point of how people, especially when it comes to like people in America and stuff like that, especially nowadays, how they start breaking down a lot of scientific things because this is English terminology, so it's some England method of how they go about science and how they go about the state of knowing and things of that nature, and analyzing and observing these things and doing a little lab rat tests and stuff like that, and metaphysics and like like Scientology and all that type stuff, and like how these like methods turn people into spiritual crackheads based upon them being stuck in that one shape or form, how they want to conduct about these things to like what I'm saying, to understand existence and life and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? 1 a.m. chill shit. It's late as fuck. But um yeah. So for the most part, when it comes to like the scientific method and stuff like that, right? So based upon the scientific method, science in itself is the state or fact of knowing, right? And when you know something, you're gonna gain some type of awareness. Now, from you having that know word in front of it and stuff like that, right? Knowing something puts you in that no shape or form type of energy. So like that godly type of energy and stuff like that. And I'll break that down as I like explain like the overall perspective of like what I mean and stuff like that. So like I be saying, like your spirit is your space. So that's like the first light or the first emanation or the birther of something, the seed, and you not being stuck in one shape or form how you want to go about these things, because God is all possibilities and stuff like that, right? So when you be in that space, right, you be in that space of overall knowing and things of that nature, right? Regardless of like the higher or lower dimensional expand contracted way of how you want to look at it and stuff like that, it's still the state of being of what you know and what you don't know, right? So when you be knowing things, right, and you gain knowledge about something that's like esoteric or spiritually, you're putting yourself in a space of having knowledge. So you can know a lot of things in general and stuff like that, but you may not apply the wisdom of what you know. You probably like, you know what I'm saying? You probably be aware of a lot of shit and you know what it is for the most part, but you're not applying what you do and don't know. You know what I'm saying? You're just in that state of being, in that realm of reality of what it is to know. That's why a lot of the times when you get rejected and stuff like that, or you get told no, or you be in that no type of state of being, like, nah, I ain't gonna do that shit. No, I ain't trying to do this and the third. You actually putting yourself in a overall space of your natural state of being, because you're not trying to know the thing, or you're not trying to not know the thing. You just being your natural state of being. You get what I'm saying? So overall, right, you're not having some type of bias within both of those type of things and stuff like that. And the more you try to put it towards a bias, you're just gonna like you're just gonna get put as a walking example of how much you don't know about that thing or how much you do know about that thing. You start knowing how much experience you have with that thing or how much you don't have experience when it comes to that thing. You start to show how much you observe that thing and how much you don't observe that thing. You just putting yourself in a state of being of what you do and you don't know and stuff like that. So for the most part, right, that's why when you put yourself in a state of being overall and stuff like that, and you don't get indoctrinated, aka you don't put your intuition, your inner spiral, your feelings and emotions, your thought ideas too much into other people's books, aka other people's testimonies and stuff like that, other people's energy, other people's spaces, other people's realms, other people's worlds, and you try to apply that to your own way of how you want to conduct these things and stuff like that. You start to know who you are, and you start to know yourself, and then it start developing into your individuality, and then it's gonna start like developing it to who you are in the physical and stuff like that, and people start to know who you is because you know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a deep thing for the most part. So from you knowing that thing, you're gonna have more knowledge of that thing, and you're gonna know based upon the studying information of how much you do know and how much you don't know. That's why it's good to be in that equilibrium space to where you can, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not gonna know everything for the most part, but you're not always gonna have a lack of knowing either and stuff like that. So when you put yourself in an equilibrium space of I'm not trying to know everything, right? But I'm not trying to know nothing. It's gonna make you look at something from a objective overall point of view based upon that neutrality, and you able to equalize it because you're not putting yourself in a bias between both, and then you actually start to get the actual download or information or the actual channeling or the actual message of what it means from an overall perspective, because you're not stuck in a certain bias of knowing. You ain't stuck in a certain bias of the message and stuff like that. You're not too focused on the messenger. You just focusing on the message. You just focus on what's actually being said, and is it relatable and in sync, and does it make sense? And then from you knowing what makes sense and stuff like that, you start to understand the reality of that thing, and you understand the reality of that thing. You start to make it relative. So what's real to you and what worked for you is going to be relative and what worked for you. And in that natural state of being, you start understanding your state of being in general and stuff like that, and your individuality and who you want to be and how you want to come off like, and what you into and what you not into, what you know and what you don't know and shit like that. Like yeah, it's a deep ass nuance and shit. So with that being said, right, I'm saying all this to say when it comes to like the scientific method and stuff like that, and we're using this Engelman terminology and stuff like that, all the way down to the updated version of how they look at these things now, right? It's them making observations. Now, from us being spirits in the body or humans right now, right? We're the observers of these different observations and stuff like that. We're the creator, we're not the creation and stuff like that. So the minute you start paying attention to other people's way of how they observe and other people's way of creating, right, and being productive and stuff like that, and they skill when it comes to that, and you looking at other people's observations, it's not to say that you can't learn things from other people of how they look at these things, but you're not getting too indoctrinated, aka you're not trying to be stuck in someone like it's kind of like the epitome of like being like stuck in someone else's nutsack esoterically. You getting stuck in someone else's mind. You getting stuck in other people's way of how they go about things, their way when it comes to their art or their creativity or their productivity, and how they do that skill and how they do that talent and how they do that gift and stuff like that. That's like a God-given thing based upon all possibilities. That's their way of how they do that thing. You can't just mimic and copy to an exact degree of what they doing. They have a method to their madness, but you may go mad trying to do their method. You get what I'm saying? That's all the way down to that mad scientist term and shit like that, right? You may go like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what works for them and stuff like that. There's a method to their madness. You trying to do their method is only gonna make you mad. It's only gonna make you frustrated. It's only gonna make you feel like there's some type of boundary restriction or limitation when it comes to their knowledge based upon you looking at their example as wise, or you looking at their example of their observations and how they look at these things and their orb and their world and their space and stuff like that. You feel like it's relatable to what your space is and stuff like that, but their way of how they conduct that may not align with, you know what I'm saying, how you conduct yourself in general, right? So it's the epitome of you gonna know what you like and you know what you don't like for the most part. So that don't mean you start to move or try to people please into other people's ways of what goes for their liking and what they like to do. And because you try to appeal to this person and compromise and things of that nature, right? Not even compromise, but more like a people pleasing type of energy to where you're gonna put certain shit to the side so you can sit there and be in their mind when you're not even trying to understand your mind. It's kind of like an idol worship type of thing for the most part. It's basically what I'm trying to say and like what I'm trying to describe. When you get too lost into someone else's mind and you start worshiping that thing, aka you want to go to war with your spaceship, aka your space, aka your imagination, your thought, idea, feelings, and emotions. You start to create a circumstance for yourself to where you want to be in their way of how they create based upon what they created, but you're not trying to create something for yourself. And you get lost in their observations and you're not trying to observe your way of how you look at it. You rather go about their way of looking at it. It's only going to be into some type of clone type of energy. So it's only going to be synthetic. It's never going to be genuine. You're never going to genuinely know how to go about your own way and make your own path and make your own method of how you want to conduct yourself and what makes sense to you and things of that nature. So based upon the scientific method, right, it's going to start off by observations. So that's them observing and stuff like that. From them observing, they're taking their orb and they're trying to make themselves of service of that thing based upon their orb and their space of how they look at that thing, how they perceive that thing. But not everyone's going to have the same perception of how they project or how they receive that thing that they're looking at. You know what I'm saying? So from that, they're going to pose questions. So the scientific method in general is observations, then questions, then you do your research, and then you're going to create a hypothesis, and then you're going to make your do an experiment and conduct an analysis out of that experiment, and then you're going to have a conclusion by the end of everything you done did. So based upon that observation energy, like I just said, right, it's going to make you start posing a question. A question is like going on a vision quest. You're trying to find something. So when you're in that energy of trying to find something because you feel like there's something not found because they don't suit your bias of how you're perceiving or how you being receptive to that thing for the most part, right? That's you getting more farther out of your natural state of being and you trying to understand something else outside yourself for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like a person, place, a thing. You getting more outside of your way of how you go about something and stuff like that. Now, if you do that in a way that's compromisable or relatable in sync from an overall perspective, so you can create something new with yourself. I mean, create something new for yourself and stuff like that. So you can have a new perception, a new type of mind, a broader type of way of how to go about it and things of that nature. Okay, cool. But from you being in that questioning type of energy, you're going to go on a vision quest to find something because you feel like you don't already know. You feel like you already don't make sense out of that thing, or you don't have something inside yourself based upon your inner spiral, aka your intuition and the way you see things, right? You feel like you have to self-project that. So you look for something outside yourself, aka whether it be like a word or like a title or a person, place, a thing, an example of, or like a noun or some type of action that you went on and stuff like that that can confirm what you already know internally, but you already know what it is, aka you already not stuck in, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you already know, you're already like aware in a sense, but you're trying to gain more information based upon what you don't know for the most part. So the minute it go into that type of energy, is going to make you conduct your research and things of that nature, right? So when you conduct your research, you're researching. You're trying to redo something. You're trying to remind. You're trying to recount. It's that re-energy. You feel like you have to do something again. You know what I'm saying? You have to search for something again. So you put in your state of being in search. You put in your, you know what I'm saying? You put in your spirit, which is your space, in search of something. So the minute you start doing that, it's only going to lead more and more into the self-projecting energy that I'm talking about. Then it's going to go into the hypothesis. So you're going to start making up hypotheticals, right? You're going to start getting hype off of hypotheticals and assumptions of what you think that thing is until you get some type of confirmation, whether you're wrong or whether you're right. When the whole thing in itself is not about you being right or wrong for the most part. It's about you being well-centered and well-rounded of what works for you may work for may not work for others, and what work for others may not work for you for the most part. So that method of how you conduct that thing to make sense out of it based upon you conducting your experiments, aka your experiences. Your experiences are your spiritual experiments for the most part, right? So from you conducting that experiment esoterically all the way down to the physical, I'm literally like breaking down, right, like these lab coat test lab like type motherfuckers who be conducting a whole bunch of tests and analyzing all these things for the most part, the type of state of being and the mind that they in to make them even be in this type of mindset for the most part, right? So with that being said, then they're gonna draw the conclusions off of everything I just said, right? So all the way down to the scientific method, when they be studying physics and stuff like that, that's like natural science. So natural science is just the natural existence. And when it's natural existence, it's something organic, it's non-synthetic, and it's non-GMO. It wasn't created in a lab and things of that nature. It wasn't tested a whole bunch of times and manipulated and analyzed and observed a million times to try to figure out the ins and out of how this thing works and things of that nature, right? And based upon these physics, right, it's natural science. So it's gonna be talking about things that happen in nature. But when it comes to physics in general, right, and natural science, a lot of these people self-project the physical ramification of how these things work. So they think that because this thing happens in the physical, right, if I keep on manipulating and and making myself have all these tests for the most part, or finding different things I can pluck from to try to make it like a GMO synthetic version of something that's natural and stuff like that, all the way down to processed food and things of that nature. Like processed food is like an example of what I'm trying to say, right? It's GMO. It's not the natural version that you can grow in your backyard. It's a synthetic additive version of what was natural, but it's to make it so we can conserve more food because we're not able to, like, at the rate that we at when it comes to food and things of that nature, we can't all organically grow these things in our backyard. Well, we really can for real, but it's just based upon colonization and stuff like that. They're never going to allow that anytime soon because they don't pluck from all the resources. But from them plucking all the resources, plucking from the land, it's because they don't give a fuck about the land. And because they don't give a fuck about the land and things of that nature, and they want to pluck the resources like some gold rush and things of that nature, is because they don't care about the metaphysics, aka the mind physics of existence before it becomes physical and stuff like that. So when it comes to a lot of these scientists, they don't give a fuck about the 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 metaphysics behind shit. They care about the physics, aka they care about the physical realm and stuff like that. They care about the third dimension. They just care about the external representation that they can't see with the naked eye. They don't care about the thought, they feel, and emotion in the metaphysics before it became physical. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about the subconscious realm. And they is caring about the subconscious realm. They turn their subconscious realm or they dream an imagination into a physical thing. So they turn it into a rock. AKA that's like being stubborn or like acting like a rock spiritually and stuff like that. So you say stuck and stubborn and stagnant, and you don't stay in what? Like no shape and form. You stay in a really rigid, earthly, like, you know what I'm saying, rocky, like, you know what I'm saying, like walking on eggshell type of motherfucker. So because you gonna keep on putting boundary, restriction, and limits on your spirit, aka your space, aka your inspiration, your imagination, right? Your thoughts, ideas, feeling, emotion. You want to apply it based upon some indoctrinated way of how you want to go about it. So from you being indoctrinated, you're going based upon words, you're going based upon language, you're going based upon something external. So that's you self-projecting. And anything that You know what I'm saying? You basically doing everything from the outside in, not from the inside out. You're not trying to find some new way to how to go about something based upon how you feel, based upon your intuition and your knowledge and your awareness, and you trying to expand that first. AKA, you ain't trying to get your mind right. You ain't trying to have some new type of thought of how to go about something. You want to do a what? A scientific method, because the scientific method is just one version of how they go about these things. Sometimes when you do these testing experiments and stuff like that, the scientific method it works, but you can see in reality based upon people who go through natural experiments and stuff like that. You can't make up some mathematical, scientific goddamn method for everything in life and stuff like that, because life don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in life, you're gonna go through ups and downs, and you can't put yourself in a certain expectation. That's that expectation, rocky energy that I'm talking about. When you go into something expecting a certain thing, you're only gonna put yourself in a scenario where you're gonna get disappointed even faster because you expecting a certain thing to happen from you being into that thing. And then you're gonna keep on going through life, and God gonna keep on showing you over and over. You need to learn you ain't shit and that ain't shit, all the way down to the material type stuff. You can have all that money, you can have all that luxury, you can live it up and live that hedonistic lifestyle in the physical, but if you were to die tomorrow, when you dead, all of it's not gonna matter. And then look, you could be an atheist and sit there and think we just gonna be in darkness and stuff like that, and you can be a religious motherfucker, or you could be a spiritual type motherfucker and stuff like that, and believe in like afterlife or reincarnation and things of that nature. But end of the day, right, you get your brains blown out on the curb and stuff like that, and you were to die today, all that money you can't take with you. It's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gone. You can't get that shit back. You know what I'm saying? At that point, it's just you and your personal relationship with God at that point, aka all possibilities, or whatever you believe in that's bigger than you, based upon your belief system and stuff like that. Regardless if you agnostic, atheist, or you spiritual, religious, regardless, you're gonna go into your personal representation of what you feel like that is. So that's literally, in a nutshell, kind of like the unconscious realm, the subconscious realm, and the conscious realm. Scientists, right, all the way down to when we be talking about these motherfuckers who be using the scientific method and stuff like that. There is no method to life. It's like you have to do what works for you for the most part. You can live some type of method or some type of concrete plan and things of that nature of how you want to conduct these things and what you want to have happen to your life, but it may not even go based upon your own journey from you doing that thing word for word, bar for bar, of how you imagine it in your mind based upon that certain type of list, all the way down to the opportunities and stuff like that. You can't predict that. You can't foretell that. You can't, you know what I'm saying? The main thing is you create your own purpose. You create your own destiny. You just set yourself in the line of events / timeline of what, of the type of space you want to be in, and then conduct yourself to do that A, B, and C, promised land, idea, problem, solution, conclusion of how you want these things to go. But like, you're not gonna know every single interaction. You ain't gonna know every single person that you're gonna interact with. You're not gonna know the certain circumstances around the environment you're gonna be in all the time and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm basically trying to say these things aren't linear. These things are like a spiral, or like these things are like a vibration. They're like a wave. People go through different waves. People go through different, like, you know what I'm saying? Like different like currents and stuff like that. Like, you go through ups and downs. There is no, fucking like a line of events of it's gonna go exactly like this, then it's gonna lead to this, it's gonna lead to this, XYZ. Sometimes that's gonna happen. Sometimes that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because if niggas, motherfucker, that's like the epitome of like some Death Note type shit and stuff like that. To where it'd be like you try to sit there and be like, oh, if I do this thing right, I'm gonna try to be I'm gonna end up being more healthy and stuff like that. So I'm gonna prevent myself from dying because of this, that, and the third, right? But niggas be dying every day. Even if they have a healthy lifestyle, they end up dying because some car accident, they end up dying because, you know what I'm saying, some type of organ failure and things of that nature, they end up dying because of wrong place, wrong time. You can't predict that. You know what I'm saying? You can't, like, you can't, like, you could probably, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could probably get yourself at the situation and stuff like that, and like, you know what I'm saying? Because you was able to like be witty and stuff like that. You was able to think fast. That's like if someone was like in like a shootout or some shit like that, right? And they was able to get out that situation because they was able to think smart and not get too like overthinking on women based upon the situation and they was able to like finesse the situation to get out of that situation and things of that nature. But it's like, yeah, you can't, there's no concrete method of that consistent thing happening every single time. There's no consistency there. You have to make some type of consistency and some type of method that work for you based upon how you observe, aka your individuality, how you think. For the most part, the way I think and the way my mind is based upon my expression, my individuality, it may not be how you think. It may not be how you feel and stuff like that. But we all in different states of being and stuff like that. So I respect your individuality. I respect your state of being. I respect the fact you're in existence right now. But the way I live my life and my lifestyle and my existence may not be relative to yours. So that's this is literally I'm trying to explain the different sciences and stuff like that. When y'all project y'all scientific method and stuff like that, the way shit be going, your methods may not even add up all the time to how it's always gonna go. So that's like someone who's trying to write some shit down on a piece of paper, and their whole job is like to discover some new species. But someone else, aka another human who's not even a scientist or into these things, they already discovered this species before a scientist discovered that species and things of that nature. But it's like some Wakanda shit where it's like, oh, we got these resources, we got this new speech, we got this new thing, but it's not new to us, it's just new to y'all. So because it's new to y'all want to apply y'all scientific method. Y'all want to become spiritual crackheads and stuff like that. Y'all want to get high off y'all meth and OD off that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because you get hype up off hypotheticals and writing shit down and figuring out a different way to experiment and clone or make some synthetic version so you can duplicate that shit, even though it's not no natural way of how to go about it. You have to conduct that shit based upon some shit in a lab. And things of that nature. Like this is what I'm saying. Like these motherfuckers don't care about metaphysics. They don't care about their mind. They try to apply their mind and some project another person's mind, aka whoever being made up the scientific method. Like whatever sets of beings created that scientific method shit for the most part. White lab coat, white lab, stethoscope and stuff like that, nerd glasses emoji and shit like that, of that version of when it comes to science and how to be knowledgeable and be aware of things and things of that nature and how to test against these things, like whatever deity, whoever like first created that science, who's in that space first, aka like that letter, that sigil, that word, that symbolism, like whoever's in that space first, y'all giving credence to that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all made it's basically like y'all getting high off that like deities based upon like that word, like based upon that state of being, right? That reality, like whoever created that, whether it was a person, place, or thing, like. Or like even something beyond this realm, like a deity or some shit. I keep scratching this, but yeah, it's like y'all are like y'all are in that space. Y'all are in that state of being. So y'all are in their house. So y'all go to that trap house, esoteric trap house, and get high off of their crack because like y'all get high off of that deities, that like you know what I'm saying, that deity, that being, that space, that person, place, or thing, if you want to call it that, like whoever made that up, those group of people, legion, whatever religion made that up, and that way of how they go about things and stuff like that, of how they look at stuff in the physical and then take things outside themselves and then try to internalize that shit instead of from the inside out and create some new version of how to go about that thing. Y'all give praise to that. So that's what leads to things like Scientology and stuff like that. So because Scientology is a type of science theology. Theology has something to do with the science behind God. So people's observation of God. But the way people look at God based upon y'all calling it that term, right? It's really y'all try to look at it like it's like a deity for real. Like y'all try to turn that thing into like a person, place, or thing, like a thing that acts on its own, like a noun. Like you know what I'm saying? Like y'all trying to turn it into like a physical type thing. It's not something that you actually believe in, like you believe in like some overall type God. No, you trying to worship that thing for the most part. Like y'all trying to worship like that deity. It only demons like being called God. You know what I'm saying? That's like a downward spiral way of thinking for the most part. Right, by trying to put it in like a name or title or be like, oh yeah, he said, or like the Lord, or like Jesus, because of this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? Like God is just all possibilities. That means like you not getting stuck in one shape and form about how to go about these things because your spirit is your space and stuff like that. So you know what you want in and out your space for the most part. And you know what you get fulfilled by and what's going to cause esoteric holes based upon what get fulfilled. But for the most part, from you going through these experiences and stuff like that, you only going to learn you ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Like your goal shouldn't be trying to like become the like something, some shape and form and stuff like that. You can utilize these things based upon you being in the physical realm right there as like a bitch, or like use it like as like a tool to get where you trying to go to, you know what I'm saying, based upon a desire or like a fucking accomplishment and stuff like that. But the more you get stuck into desires, the more you get stuck into a certain shape and form and stuff like that. So you know what I'm saying, you start getting lost into your wants and needs, and you getting lost into your wants and needs, you ain't never going to be satisfied. And if you never satisfied and things of that nature, you just going to make yourself more frustrated and stuff like that. So it's like more and more, it's like the epitome of when people be talking about, oh, I turn nothing into something, but don't turn that something into everything. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't get lost into that something you made out of nothing. You should be trying to cultivate and make something of yourself based upon that nothing that you did. So from you turning that nothing into something, it really ain't nothing though. You know what I'm saying? Like it. So I'm basically trying to say you make it look like it's nothing. Okay, you make it look effortless. You make it look like it didn't take a lot for you to do that thing because you're not getting giddied up over that shit. Even though like you did some crazy ass shit. You know what I'm saying? From you being your natural state of being, but you ain't getting too geeked up off of the thing, like the shape and form of it though. You know what I'm saying? So like yeah, back into like the Scientology shit. This would lead to people to thinking that Scientology type of shit, to where it's like all the way down to like therapy and stuff like that, right? Like paying for therapy, like everyone has their own relationship with themselves first before they get a relationship with somebody else. You can't have no good relationship unless you have a good relationship with yourself. So the same way, like you have a good relationship with yourself, you learn how to therapize yourself. You know how to have some type of self therapy or some ritual or spell or some type of way of conducting yourself based upon a work schedule routine of how you want to, you know what I'm saying, to make you feel like your natural self and things of that nature. That's what worked for you. So it's some form of self-care or helping your self-esteem or self-therapizing and things of that nature, right? Now, there's many different forms of therapy and stuff like that, but someone had to create that type of therapy to make that be part of like that world based upon some type of funding system and industry of overall therapy to pay someone to do that based upon their natural gifts and talents of them knowing how to therapize people in different types of ways from them being themselves. But people be too lost into a traditional format based upon some type of industry, right? And when someone try to present something that's unconventional, that's not really that unconventional. It's just unconventional in the sense of someone just makes some new version of how to make some type of engineering to help therapize people from them being themselves. It's like the epitome of like when someone listens to a music artist and stuff like that, right? And they be like, damn, this person was like a really pivotal person in my life and stuff like that. Like your music really saved my life. Like your music did something for me during that certain point in time based upon you talking about your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, your experiences, your individuality, the way how you go about it, the way how you go about your skill, your art, your creativity, your productivity, like just everything, like the world you created is the same thing. So when y'all put yourselves in this like omniscient, omnipotent type of energy based upon, oh well, I got a PhD and shit like that, and I went to a college and I figured out some type of England man version and shit like that, or some fucking German version of how to go about this thing, right? And we're all knowing because we conducted these type of tests because of this, that, and the third, right? And you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we have all this all knowing universal knowledge and shit like that. Y'all getting shit super fucked up. Y'all getting shit super fucked up. It's like self-projection and stuff like that. That's why when it comes to a lot of these like terms, when it comes to like alternative medicine or like some Dr. Sebi type of shit, they won't reject that shit because it got nothing to do with I got a PhD type of energy and stuff like that, or you didn't read this book, or based upon the medical field because of this, that, and the third, or some type of indoctrination that they made that they accept because it's more aligned to people in that world. But not everyone is in that world though. Like you have to understand that. Not like bro, like niggas ain't in that world. It's the same way how certain motherfuckers have certain allergies and stuff like that. They're allergic to certain things, or people don't like certain food. They don't like that type of food. That don't fit their taste buds and shit like that. You can't self-project what a motherfucker can and can't eat and what they can and can't like for the most part, or what they can and can't fuck with. You can't control motherfuckers' minds of how they want to conduct themselves and stuff like that. So all the way down to the medicine or like certain type of cures and things of that nature, right? They want to have some type of cure that they made based upon their backend and their funding system and their dollar bill and their resources and their pills and you know what I'm saying, their prescriptions and their PhDs and their doctors and their nurses and stuff like that. The minute you start hitting them with like some witch doctor shit or some fucking medicine man type of shit, or like, you know what I'm saying, like some type of spiritual medicine man, like teacher and shit like that, some Dr. Sebi type of shit, some like alternative type of way of how to go about something that go against, I got a PhD type of energy and stuff like that. That's where that self-projection energy coming from for the most part. So, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, right? So, yeah, like all science started off as pseudoscience because what they become a pseudoscience is false science and stuff like that. And science is the state or fact of knowing something. But the only motherfucker who look at that shit as false is a motherfucker who just don't think like them. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's the same way someone could know how to do a certain job, aka someone know how to change the tires and stuff like that, but someone may come up with a new method of how to change the tire in a more efficient manner compared to someone else and shit like that. So that's like a motherfucker, that's like a motherfucker like inventing some type of new type of drill that takes out the bolts out of each tire faster than like normal type of drills and stuff like that, and then they was able to monetize it to make it more accessible to consumers and things of that nature because they're like a businessman and shit like that, and then they probably have certain resources or they found some type of creative way to like, you know, fuck with certain screws and the bolts and stuff like that inside that drill to make that type of drill and shit like that, so it can come off faster with the bolts and tighten that shit up more efficient than the drills we have right now and stuff like that. So they made some new type of technology and things of that nature. So all it's gonna turn into is kind of like a philosophical ass conversation and things of that nature. Because like I just said, science is the state or fact of knowing or what is known and the knowledge of something. And when you have a lot of knowledge, you're in knowledge, aka like the stuff that you're aware about, it don't have like no ledge spiritually and stuff like that. So you can know a lot of shit, but you're not applying it in a wise way. You're not applying it in a way that's grounded. You're not applying it in a way that's actually informative, that can be applied, that's more relatable and in sync, that can help expand something more than what you just know. Because you can know a lot of shit, but you make a lot of unwise decisions. You get what I'm saying? So that's like you going against someone else's mind. So when a motherfucker hit you with I got a PhD and this, that, and third, and we colonize everybody. So, and we have this funding system of how we want to go about this thing based upon our observations and people in a lab coat and stuff like that, even though we're not inside, like we're not trying to figure out shit based upon some type of natural nature and things of that nature that you could actually observe by going outside and things of that nature, right? And touching grass and shit like that. We're doing it inside of a fucking building based upon our corporations that we done built, and we doing it inside where it's cold as fuck and we got white ass lab coats and we have on these glasses and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna end up going against metaphysics. You only gonna go against someone else's mind and what someone else know and things of that nature. Someone else may know a different way of how they conducted some shit, and they probably got no type of PhD, they probably got no type of credentials in your background, but they know something more than you know something, because them and they people, based upon their awareness and them conducting their methods based upon some type of tribal shit and things of that nature of the space that they was in based upon the surrounding environment, that's what worked for them, and that's what they know that you probably don't know. But if you start being some hater type of energy, you start self-projecting of what they do and don't know, and since it don't fit my hypothesis and my PhD, and it don't fit with my fucking credentials because I worked so hard to go to school because of this, that, and the third, right? And it's for this corporation, and it's written down on this piece of paper, or it's some type of alternative method that hasn't been gentrified yet and stuff like that, then I'm gonna just hate on that shit. So it's like, yeah, bro, like it's like you just start getting on other motherfuckers and their own practices and what they practitioners of, but you just self-projecting your practitioner. That's what worked for you. That may not work for me. So it's just gonna go into that conversation. It's the same way everything when it comes to pseudoscience and stuff like that, and divinatory practices and stuff like that, from all possibilities, right? That's why they be hating on astrology and shit like that. Like, that's why they be hitting on astrology and shit like that. And look at that shit. It's like a pseudoscience and things of that nature, right? Because it's not some shit they can sit there and do that type of method and stuff like that. When astrology got nothing to do with that type of shit, all the way down to your horoscopes and stuff like that. Everyone got their own horoscopes, their own alignments, their own fixed stars, their own houses, their own shit to make them them. So it's like they can't add no scientific method because it's never gonna be the same. All individuals got their own mind. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone gonna think the same. Not everyone gonna have the same thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. Not everyone's gonna have the same dream. Not everyone gonna have the same imagination. Not everyone gonna have the same aspirations. We can Venn diagram shit. Like we can have things that are adjacent and we can build together and stuff like that until we're at the gym where we all trying to build into one type of overall space based upon what we all into and things of that nature. But you can't just sit there and try to control the wave, nigga. You can't control the spiral. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna start to hate this shit for real. But yeah, man, all science start off as pseudoscience. The projection of scientific method just make y'all the spiritual motherfucking crackheads in the esoteric realm. Like, y'all gotta stop that shit.